Hi Storytime lovers. Do you know what day it is? Wednesday, September 22nd. Why am I asking? Because today marks the beginning of autumn that will last until December 21st. Well, at least in the Northern Hemisphere, because right now in the Southern Hemisphere, it's the beginning of spring. Don't you just love autumn? Autumn brings with it so many wondrous things to look forward to. Now, I'm sure you loved being outside all day during summer, and autumn might bring in its fair share of rainy days, but just think about the trees changing into all these breathtaking colors. And think about conker picking, the feeling you get when you open the husks and touch the soft, shiny new conker. Think about making rainbows of leaves, going apple picking, choosing the pumpkin for Halloween. And if it does rain, all you have to do is put on your muddy little boots. Talking about muddy little boots, that's the name of the team behind today's exploratory story. Muddy Little Boots are a small independent publishing company whose books promote an appreciation of nature. Today's story, There's No Deer Around Here, is their debut picture book. It was written by Andy Hussey, a graphic designer by trade, from Hampshire in the UK. And it was illustrated by Rosie Venner, a freelance illustrator based in Bristol, also in the UK. Andy says that the inspiration for this story came to him during lockdown when he started to notice large numbers of deer. Have you ever seen a deer? Have you ever seen one in your garden? Do you know why deer like to visit people's gardens? Let me help you brush up on your deer skills by sharing with you some amazing facts about these majestic forest denizens. Fun fact number 1. The part of their bodies deer are the most famous for are their antlers. That's because deer are the only group of animals in the world to have antlers. Fun fact number 2. Did you know that female deer cannot grow antlers? Well, all of them apart from female reindeer. So now you know how to tell a female deer from a male deer. Fun fact number 3. Male deer grow new antlers each year. In fact, antlers are the fastest growing living tissue in the world. Male deer shed them each winter and grow them back again in the spring. Fun fact number 4. Talking about male and female deer, do you know their proper names? A male deer is usually called a buck or a stag if it's a large male deer. And if, like me, you are an unconditional fan of The Sound of Music, you already know what you call a female deer. That's right. Doe, a deer, a female deer. And a young deer is usually called a fawn. Fawns are born with light-spotted fur, which helps them to camouflage in the tall grass. Fun fact number 5. Deer like visiting people's gardens. But do you know why? Deer live outside, and your garden is part of their territory, the way your bedroom is part of your home. Deer are herbivores, and they're constantly looking for snacks. So, when they show up on your property, it's usually because your garden is full of yummy snacks, such as twigs, berries, seeds, fruit, or flowers. Well, now you are a deer expert. Let's go on a deer exploration with Jacob and his best friend, Archie Dog. It was the weekend, and Jacob was staying with Granny, but they were stuck indoors. Earlier in the year, Granny had suggested they grow their own plants. Jacob loved the idea. He wanted to grow a pumpkin the size of his head and the biggest, brightest sunflower in the street. Finally, the sun came out from behind the clouds. Jacob rushed downstairs and out into the garden to check on their plants. He was happy to see that the sunflowers had grown. But what had happened to the vegetable patch? Everything had been eaten. Granny came out to see what was wrong. She pointed to the gate, looking confused. "Jacob, did you leave the gate open? How many times have I told you to shut the gate so Archie Dog can't escape?" "Sorry, Granny," Jacob replied. Jacob picked up a lettuce leaf that had been left on the lawn. The leaf had been nibbled. "What do you think came in last night?" Jacob asked. "A cow? Some sheep? Or maybe a deer?" Granny was quick to reply. "A deer? Oh no, dear. There's no deer around here." Every Sunday, Jacob and Granny took Archie Dog for a walk. Jacob would skip along the path and splash in the muddy puddles. Jacob and Archie Dog were the best of friends. Looking down in the squelchy mud, Jacob could see his footprints and Archie Dog's paw prints, but there were other prints too. What makes marks like this? Jacob wondered. A tiny lady with pointy shoes? "Don't be silly," Granny replied, climbing over the stile in her old wellies. Tiny ladies would never walk in the mud in their best pointy shoes. "Maybe a deer?" wondered Jacob. Granny was quick to reply. "A deer? Oh no, dear. There's no deer around here." When they reached the park, they let Archie Dog off the lead. He ran round and round, chasing his ball and barking with joy. Suddenly, Archie Dog dropped his ball and set off across the field towards the fence. No matter how loudly Jacob and Granny shouted, he kept on running. Finally, Granny caught up with him and put his lead back on, but Archie Dog kept on sniffing. What can he smell? A cat? A fox? Or maybe a deer? Asked Jacob. Granny was quick to reply. "A deer? Oh no, dear, there's no deer around here." The park was normally full of activity, but today it was quiet. Instead of the usual games and children playing, there was only the noise of the birds, tweeting and chattering as they swooped to catch flies. Jacob looked up and spotted a blackbird on the fence. The bird flapped its wings and flew away, but Jacob noticed he'd left something behind. Jacob reached up and carefully picked up a clump of fur off the fence. He looked at it closely. Who could be missing this? He wondered. Could it be a deer? He asked. Granny was quick to reply. A deer? Oh no, dear. There's no deer around here. Suddenly, Archie Dog stuck his head into the bushes and wouldn't come out. Archie, no! Shouted Granny. It was clear he was eating something he shouldn't. Granny pulled him out of the bushes, and Jacob expected to see him chewing a mouldy old sandwich or an apple. After all, they were Archie's favourites. Jacob saw what looked like melted chocolate raisins. Granny insisted that he mustn't try and eat one. Is it poo, Granny? Jacob asked. Some kind of sticky rabbit poo? Or is it a deer? Has it been to the loo? He chuckled. Granny was quick to reply. A deer? Oh no, dear. There's no deer around here. On the edge of the wood there was Jacob's tree. He had planted it with his school friends as part of a nature project. Jacob loved seeing how much his tree had grown. It was still taller than him, but he was catching up fast. But the tree looked sad. The bark on one side had been damaged and the ground had been churned up. What could have done this? Could it be a deer? Jacob asked. Granny was weary and quick to reply. A deer? Oh no, dear, there's no deer around here. That evening, back at the house, Jacob emptied his pocket and studied the fur closely under his bedside light. He couldn't stop thinking about the clues he'd seen that day. The leaf, the prints, the sniffing, the fur, the poo, the tree. Could there really be deer so close to here? Before turning off his light, Jacob jumped out of bed and peeped out the window for one last look at the garden. Oh no, he gasped. The gate's open again. Before he had time to tell Granny, a pair of ears appeared over the fence, casting a strange shadow in the moonlight. What could it be? I knew it! I knew it! A deer! A deer! So they are deer around here. The mummy deer and her baby strolled in through the open gate and began to nibble on the few remaining leaves. Jacob smiled with delight, and, with a lettuce leaf in her mouth, Jacob could have sworn the deer smiled back. Jacob couldn't believe his luck. Leaving the deer to enjoy their snack, he climbed back into bed and fell fast asleep. The end. So, thanks to Jacob, now you know all the telltale signs indicating that there are deer around here. Or do you? Let's see if you can remember the 6 clues from the story. Are you ready? I'm giving you 10 seconds. Okay, let's take a look at the 6 clues. There's the leaf, the prints, the poo, the sniffing, the fur, and the tree. And I can't let you go without checking your deer facts to make sure you are the definite deer expert. Question number 1. What do you call a mummy deer? A doe. Question number 2. What do you call a baby deer? A fawn. Question number 3. What do you call a daddy deer? A buck or a stag? Question number 4. Which deer is the only female deer to have antlers? The female reindeer. Question number 5. Why do deer like to visit people's gardens? Well, first of all, because your garden is part of their territory, and also because they are always on the lookout for yummy snacks. I really hope you enjoyed today's Read Aloud, and if you want to read aloud with me, head over to Muddy Little Boots' official website to get your own copy of There's No Deer Around Here. When you get your own copy, you will find out how to take part in a photo treasure hunt and share your pics with Muddy Little Boots. Well, that's all for today. Take care, read on, don't forget to go out, and see you soon.